Welcome, everyone, back to the Sandalanche podcast. Today, we're still in Oathbringer. We're still in part 3, chapters 65 to 68 this week. In these chapters, first up, Dalinar goes to Azir, and they're all prepared to tell him no, but then he just gives them document after document, and they're just like, oh shit, this is great stuff. All right, fine. So the Azish seem to be on board, and Dalinar meets Lift, which was actually kind of sweet. I like that little interaction. Then there's a flashback where they're talking about Dalinar probably going to have to go back to the Rift, and he gets real heated between him and Evie. And then Shallan goes out to get the feeling on the streets of Kholinar, just see how everyone's doing, gets an idea of the food situation, and unexpectedly runs into our old friend Wit, who takes her into the pub and gives her advice in his witty way. I'm Dak, and with me this week is
Jamie,
Joe,
and Data.
Alright, strap in. The Sandalanche is about to begin.
Yearnings intertwined, the golden age in ashes once again. Under stirring stars, in the burning shards, kindle fragments of the fallen rain. So look to the break of dawn, to the break of dawn. Stronger together now.
So yeah, 4 chapters this week. Some interesting stuff, I feel like. Everybody's making a kind of progress. What did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
yes, these were a good set of chapters. I think they're not exactly where I was expecting we would go straight away. I mean, I guess straight away, yeah, that's a natural lift off from where we were. But yeah, there's definitely, I didn't expect a Wit story again, which I think for me that's the highlight. I think every time we come up against one of these stories that's told by Hoyd, and I love the combination of there's the actual story and the visual. I mean, to an extent, even the one that Shallan told with her illusions, I think Brandon does that so well. They're so detailed and captivating, and like I would read a whole book of a story told like that. You know, you'd sort of think stopping to tell how the person is telling the story would be jarring, but it's not. There's something really magical about it, and yeah, like I wasn't expecting another story, but I'm so glad we got one. I think that was really awesome. So definitely that was my favorite part. Other things that were good, I'm really enjoying Dalinar learning about his powers. We've had so much of Shallan learning her powers and Kaladin learning his powers. To have Dalinar start to, be able to make those connections, and we're seeing him learn that. I love that. So I'm glad we got a bit of that in the first chapter. Having a bunch of essays from some really smart women in our universe, that was cool too. It's like, have this argument. You don't really need me here. I'm just kind of the delivery guy. Here's all the people that are making the case for me, and I think that was done really well. And the chat with Lift was great. I think it was a really nice introduction to, if both of these characters have met the Night Watcher. So I got really excited there because it wasn't even a thing that I really thought about being a possibility. And then to end that chapter with, all the memories came flooding back, and we went to a flashback. I was like, yes, we're finally going to get what happened. And we don't. But it was a bit of a sad flashback, and we'll talk about it a lot more when we get there, but I really hope that's not the last time he speaks to Heavy, because that was really awful. So not the flashback I wanted straight away, but I'm not upset with the flashback. I think the next one, we're going to start getting some really crucial information when you look at, we're 11 years ago now, and when we started, we were like 6 years ago or something like that when Gavilar died. So, we're in that pointy end of Dalinar's backstory now as well. Obviously, there's a bit to happen because we're only sort of just over halfway through the book, so we'll see what happens there. What else do we do this week? The Wit and Shallan. I love that Wit could just see straight through and was like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are." Like, nice try, but you can't fool me. I loved Wit learning that Thaddeus had died. That was a bit of fun, and it's like we're all kind of with you there going, well, too bad, so sad. But yeah, that was a bit of fun. and a little bit of a chat of, or a way in for the cult of moments. That was good. We sort of have a bit of an idea of how Shallan going to get in there now. Yeah, Patton's comment that Wit feels like one of us, and the way he was reacting and changing shapes and stuff like that, that was super interesting. I don't know what it means yet, but I'm really excited to see where that goes. So yeah, like not huge action-packed chapters necessarily, but a lot of cool information, I think, and some cool things starting to happen.
Yeah, I get what you mean about. I like the way you put it, that we're kind of like at the pointy end of Dalinar's flashbacks. Like, we're approaching the stuff that you guys, I think, have been really interested to see since we started getting Dalinar flashbacks. So we're like creeping up on it now, which is, it's kind of exciting in a way. Although at the same time, you're like, oh, okay, this flashback was interesting, but it's not exactly what I wanted. Can we get to the so?
Yeah. But it's not like I to have read it. It was like it's sad. And obviously it's information that we're going to need and it's going to play into whatever happens. But yeah, is this something Dalinar had forgotten about? Like, are we there already, or we're not there already? I mean, I assume he has forgotten about this because all of the flashbacks have got Evie in them. So
right, he'd forgotten everything about her. So presumably,
yeah.
But it is also like I'd forgotten until you mentioned it. But I'm like, it really is a sad flashback in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and there's the line, I think one of the last lines of Dalinar in that chapter. I don't deserve her. And it's like you've just had a big fight and you walked away going, yeah, look, I probably shouldn't have done that. And I'm really hoping it's not the last time that he speaks to her or they have interaction, because that would be awful.
Yeah, no, that
he feels guilty.
And I mean, rightfully, but
yeah.
Yeah, these chapters, I kind of agree a lot with what Jamie said. The Dalinar stuff was pretty cool. I love any kind of further explanation of the powers. It was funny to see just how different the cultures are. So he shows up and basically like all this paperwork proves that he's a good dude. That to me is it's just kind of funny. It's like all of these microcosms of like cultures that are so different from each other in the same world, to the extent that like their entire way of interacting with one another is not different. Obviously they do speak different languages, but like the fact that they put so much stock in like order, logical thought, things like that, it's such a stark contrast to the normal Alethi like way of like the Alethi, the way they do things. And so these stark contrasts are kind of interesting for sure. Yeah, so the Dalinar stuff, him learning some more of his powers, the flashback, I agree. Bit of a bummer. You can kind of understand. I will say this flashback does a good job of helping us to understand kind of the path that Dalinar's walking, right? So it's like it kind of helps us, I feel like, get from point A to point B of like, this is who Dalinar was, this is who Dalinar becomes. Of course, we haven't had that climactic moment of change yet, which I would assume, just based on what we know, is going to be Evie's death. Like, partially, that's the climactic change. We also know there's another climactic change for Dalinar's personality and way of doing things when his brother dies, but we've kind of already seen the after effects of that. So to kind of put all the pieces together will be kind of good as far as character development stuff goes. We move to Shallan. We've got her finding Wit, him telling the story, which I normally do find the Wit storytelling stuff really charming. And I don't know, there was something about this story that I didn't super connect with. And so I didn't love the story this go round. The storytelling obviously was very interesting. He's captivating his audience and stuff like that. But I'd be interested to know if this story plays a larger part in the overall narrative, because to me it didn't jump out as like, ooh, that's really intriguing story. And so I wasn't as super charmed by that story as I have been by some of the things he's done in the past. And then we get the normal, like, vague Hoydisms after, where they're eating together. And so it's like, oh man, it'd be nice if like we knew more of what was going on with him, right? which I feel like we're getting more about Hoyd in the Stormlight Archive, at least like from a personality / motivation perspective than probably any other series that we've read in the Cosmere. So I guess I shouldn't be too like, oh man, we're not getting enough. But at the same time, there's just a lot of vague stuff going on, fake stuff that he's saying. That's like, okay, tell me more though. I'd like to know more about that subject, please.
Tell me more. Tell me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, don't get us copyrighted on Greece now.
More.
No, I did enjoy these chapters. The Elhokar stuff. I kind of like that Shallan almost is like defending Elhokar to Hoyd. And then the Stea stuff. Interesting also that Hoyd doesn't already know these things, or at least he's acting like he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good stuff. The Cult of Cult of Moments? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Cult of Moments stuff is weird, man. The stuff that's going on with the grain, also weird. I'm really wondering where it's all headed, because the cult stuff is so, I feel like, at least, like, obviously we haven't been in Kolinar, right? So we don't know what's been going on, but I feel like it's so out of left field that I want to know how it ties in to the overall story, because it's just like, it's weird. And we don't know why it's weird, and there's weird, like, emotion spread here, and I don't know, whole thing's weird.
You're not wrong. There's some weird shit happening for certain. And yes, the Cult of Moments is just bizarre, and it doesn't seem that anyone knows like why they're so weird exactly, except Yokska's explanation is like, they think that there's this new world coming ruled by Spren. Why does that mean they dress up like weird Spren and parade through the streets? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
It's interesting that you mentioned that story as being a little. Do you guys remember that we've heard this story before?
Have we? Oh, I don't remember.
Kind of. I'll save it till we get there, but yeah.
I'm sure it was years ago.
It may well have been years ago. I don't remember exactly, but actually, hold on. No, it was somewhat recently, I think. But yeah, I'll save that for when we get there. But yes, there's I agree with you that it seems like tantalizing, this weirdness. It's just so out of left field that you're like, I gotta know. I want to know what the heck is going on there.
Just channeling your Phil Collins. I want to know.
Can you show me? No, I cannot. But this may be the first time that we've seen a wit story delivered to someone not Kaladin. I don't recall for sure.
Well, in Stormlight specifically, yes, but he definitely told that story back in Warbreaker. That was true. That was just as captivating.
He had all the pockets and he was pulling stuff out and dropping them. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, these like chapters were good. I like Dalinar meeting with the Azish and just like it's like, now time for my first attack. I present you this document, and then they're just like, this is pretty good. I don't know if it's good enough. He's like, well, what did we say you to this document? And he just keeps pulling them out, and they're just steadily just going, shit, this is really good. Okay, maybe we need to get on board with this. That bit was very funny to me. Meeting Lift was, I was prepared for another bout of like comedy and tight-buttedness and what have you. So I wasn't like, I was bracing myself when she showed up. I'm like, here we go. But it actually was, she was kind of subdued. And the thing about Lift, we know from like the end of Edge Dancer and her like interlude in the last book, it's like Lift actually has quite nice empathy for other people. And when she wants to, she can actually get along really well with people. It's just that she puts so much work into her brat persona that she doesn't for a lot. But no, she was like, she and Dalinar had a really nice chat, and it seems like they sort of came to a bit of an understanding there. So, I mean, probably just because Dalinar kept giving her food, but nonetheless.
I mean, yeah, that couldn't have hurt, right?
Yeah, but yeah, no, just like that interaction. It's like, I actually really liked that. That was kind of cool. Flashback, just depressing as shit. Dalinar is right. He doesn't deserve Evie. She's lovely, and she can do better. So I'm not looking forward to, like, yeah, just to dangle that, oh my god, I remember what happened, and then cut to this, and you think, oh shit, are we about to see? No, we are not. Okay, just colossal tease there. But like seeing young Adolin and Dalinar teaching him, that was kind of cute. I like that. Yeah, like the wit story this time around, it didn't grab me as much. Probably because, and this is through no fault of the book, but I was thinking a lot about between this book, King Killer Chronicle, and also Nevernight, the Nevernight Chronicle. I'm just like, I've had a lot of fantasy stories where the moon is a big factor in what's going on. And I won't go too deep into that because I don't want to spoil those other two books. Nevernight Chronicle, if you haven't heard of that one, please check it out. But yeah, the whole, like the story where, like, you know, okay, someone swaps places with the moon. I feel like I've read a lot of similar sort of things to this in other fantasy books, so maybe that's, you know, why it just washed over me a bit. Again, this is not the book's fault. That's just me bringing my baggage into it. The story on its own is like, all right, this is kind of cool. You know, the moon was thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna fool people, and then it turns out the moon was the one being fooled. Take that, moon.
Burn moon. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think, like, as far as the Wit chapter goes, like him and Shallan just talking in the pub, catching up on current events, Wit being unreasonably pissed. It's like, Sadeas was murdered and I wasn't there to see it? Hysterical. Love it. Who sprayed garbage all over Flanders Yard before I had a chance to? Brilliant. Yeah, no, like, I really loved Wit's appearance and the conversation they had, because that's something that we don't see Wit do that often. We've seen him tell stories before to Kaladin, and we've seen him banter back and forth with people all the time, but like he has a conversation where he's just being open, well, as open as he can be to Shallan. We've really only got that in like tiny fits and starts with Dalinar before, and Dalinar didn't really want a bar of it. He didn't want to listen. So it's nice to have that conversation where Wit is prepared to come to the table and someone else is prepared to let him. That was fresh and that was exciting.
You're not wrong. Like, we don't see him having, like, sitting down and having a heart to heart with someone, if you could call it that. He's still Wit. He's still being Hoid-y, but he's definitely having, like, a conversation here, which we don't get that often.
Yeah.
Where he's not like pretending to be something or someone.
Yeah, like all through the Mistborn books, he was always very cagey in his conversations there, and really the same for Warbreaker. He was just like the storyteller. Elantris, he was just the smuggler. This time, yeah, he's actually prepared to come to the table and talk to people about things, and it was nice that someone's willing to listen. Those are both very rare occasions.
It's true, and yet at the same time, he's out here like, be wary of anyone who claims to be able to see the future, Shallan. She's like, well, except you. And he's like, no, be wary of anyone who claims to be able to do this. So it's interesting because he's going to sit down and have this conversation with her. But at the end of it, she's like, hey, will you come and like help us? And he's like, no, you're not why I'm here.
What'd you say? Like he feels the compulsion that there is a place that he has to be, so he goes there, but he doesn't often understand why he needs to be there. Is that right? I think he said it at some point earlier in this book too.
Yeah, he has some ability to know where and when he needs to be, but not always why he needs to be there.
So interesting that like he can just take one look at Shallan and go, yeah, you're not it. Like, I'm here for something else.
Mm-hmm. And whether that's because he's already figured out what he is here for, or if he just has that ability to be like, I can sense that this isn't it. It's weird that I ran into you and also the king is here and there's clearly something big going down, but it's not what I'm here for.
Okay, early volcano prediction, just for shits and giggles. Dalinar and his appointed champion, probably Kaladin, is like facing Odium's champion in the ring. Odium's cheering, and then you just hear this, hi, and he looks up and Wit's behind him and Odium freaks the fuck out. It's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
I mean, yeah, we know that Wit, like Hoid, has a history with this whole deal. Odium, you know, he's a god. Do we think that he knows that Hoid is around, or?
I mean, Preservation seemed to be surprised.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's like, oh, that guy is around. Man.
Plus, like all those letters to the shards from this book, they're all just like, we didn't even see you show up. Well, some of them were just like, how'd you even get here? And others are just like, of course I noticed you trespassing into my lands, but they could just be bullshitting.
Yeah. Endowment was like, I always see when you show up. But meanwhile, we've got like Harmony over here. Like, how do you sneak around like that? Yeah. So who knows? Interesting. Okay, well, I guess let's do these chapters, y'all. We'll hit our 4 chapters here. The first one was verdict, which the epigraph here is, now that we abandon the tower, can I finally admit that I hate this place? Too many rules. I'm really curious what order that particular person was from.
Starting to get a sense for why the Knights Radiant are not revered anymore. Like like these records, like a lot of them just seem like jerks.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we've got this whole filing system set up to record our deepest, innermost thoughts, and most of them are just spending it on the most petty and inane things.
Mm-hmm. And so Dalinar has shown up in Azamir at the Oathgate. The Oathgate is the Grand Market, and it's got this giant bronze dome over it, which I think sounds really cool looking. But once he gets out of there, there's like a corridor, like not that is always here, something that they have apparently like made out of wood just for this situation. And then the corridor ends at a little room where there's a bunch of soldiers. And clearly they're like terrified of what Dalinar is going to do when they let him show up at their city. And all he's got is his bag of lunch and his like bundle of papers that Fen sent. And he's looking around, like he doesn't see the Prime, he doesn't see Lift. He knows what they both look like, obviously. He's seen them in vision, so he's like, yeah, they're not here. And he thinks of these Azish people as Ardents, and he calls them Ardents several times. And then at some point he's like, I gotta stop doing that. I'm thinking of them as Ardents because both the men and the women can read, but they're not actually that. They just know how to read here. And they're all talking in their own language, and he can't understand any of it. And then he's just like, okay, time for my first attack. And he opens the packet of papers and takes the first one, 4 papers out. Here you go. And gives them to this woman who has an extravagant outfit and a matching hat. So I guess that just means the hat is also extravagant, or it's just the same color. I don't know. And I love, like, it says she hesitantly took it, and the guards are like anxious, like, oh man, he pulled out some paper. Watch out. I also...
This is not what we were expecting the Blackthorn to do.
No. I also love, just on personal note, when he notices these triangular swords they have, he's like, yeah, they love those swords out there. I've always wanted one of those swords. Like, dude, you could get one, I'm sure.
Throw one of those swords in and we got a deal.
And so what they had agreed to was that they would go to a room, exchange some pleasantries, and Dalinar would leave, and they would lock the Oathgate again. But he's going to try to push for more. And while the people are talking over what the papers that he's given them, he starts talking to the Stormfather. Hey, can you make it so that I can understand what they're saying? And the Stormfather's like, what makes you think I can do that? And Dalinar's like, dude, come on. We already did this. I've spoken new languages and visions before. Clearly you can impart some like power to speak other languages. And the Stormfather goes, no, that wasn't me, that was you. Which I don't know that makes any sense. He had the visions and was speaking other languages long before he like actually bonded the Stormfather, but whatever.
Yeah, Stormfather's dumb.
I was just waiting for a oh, well, once you do it, I'll know you could always do it. Well, I've always known how you've done it. I was like,
yeah.
oh, man.
Once you do that thing, I knew that you could do it, and I knew how you did it.
So Dalinar's like, how do I?
Hindsight is 20/20.
He says, how do I do it? And the Stormfather says, try touching one of them with spiritual adhesion. So we know adhesion, sticking stuff to other stuff, is one of his powers, just like it's one of Kaladin's powers. But the Stormfather's like spiritual adhesion to make a connection.
Just love how like casual he sounds. Like, how do I do it? Oh, I'll grab one.
And then Dalinar has to try to touch one of them, even though they're all terrified of him, clearly. And so he comes up with this plan. He's like, he mimes like drinking. He's like, I'm thirsty. Can I have some water or something? And the soldiers all like argue with each other, and then they shove the youngest one forward with a canteen. And he takes a drink and gives it back, and then like grabs the guy's wrist as he's handing it back and holds on. And he uses Stormlight and kind of just like shoves it in there somehow and makes a connection. And suddenly he can understand. And the kid's like, Captain, what do I do? He's got me. And
he's got me. It's so. I mean, I get it because he's like the youngest one, but it's like such a kid thing to say. Like, what do I do?
Also, I feel like, wouldn't you just like maybe pat one on the back or something? Like, thanks. Like, now you've grabbed them.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't know how long he needed like the contact to make it work. But yeah, I there were gentler ways to do it. You're right.
We know gentle is not Dalinar's way.
Yeah.
Handshakes, not a thing.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, there are worse ways he could have done it too. So, you know, I guess
true.
it's the middle ground.
Yeah, grabs him by the balls. He's like, ah!
He should have just pulled him into like a bear hug. Like the Blackthorn, he's a real touchy-feely guy, you know. He loves hugs.
This guy, come here, you.
I'm a hugger. It'd be hilarious, actually.
But also, this power, just like, touch someone and you can learn to speak their language. Fucking amazing.
Yes, I would give anything for that. That's awesome. And so, he starts talking their language. He's like, hey, sorry, didn't mean to alarm you. Lets the guy go. Thank you. And before, there's also a note in here that the Sunmaker had argued the Azish had been in need of civilizing. And Dalinor's like, I wonder if anyone believed that even then. Like, it's just silly. And suddenly, everyone's real impressed. He's speaking Azish. Like, do you really speak our language? And Dalinor's real coy about it. He's like, I've had the opportunity to learn it recently, Just now.
They say, do you speak my language?
I don't want a Vegemite sandwich.
Yeah, I think we've had
sure
this
we have,
discussion before. Are you a Vegemite person, Dak?
Hell no.
What about you, Jamie? Vegemite?
I absolutely am. But there is a subtle art to the Vegemite. It's got to be quite thin. You can't, there is such a thing as too much Vegemite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thin yeast paste sounds appealing.
Look, I prefer not to think about it that much.
That's fair. Yep. I'm sure I eat things that I feel that same way about.
Yeah, it's true. Like crawfish. Do you like to think about what you're doing when you're
Not
eating a crawfish?
particularly, but I mean, it's hard not to because you literally you boil it whole. There's not.
You're pulling them apart to eat them. Yeah.
No.
Good lobster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we live in
that's
Texas. You
absolutely-
can't really find good lobster.
Not like
here.
fresh lobster, no. Crawfish are
No.
like tiny lobsters. Anyway,
Like little
Yeah.
yabbies.
they're like,
That's what I was thinking.
did Queen Fen really write this thing? Or what do you think? That he faked it? Like, Dalinar didn't write it, that's for sure. And he's like, yeah, she wrote it. You can contact Thaylen City and confirm. And they're all like, they're very impressed by this. I guess they have some respect for Queen Fen. And we learned Fen's argument is that Dalinar is so desperate for an alliance that this is a good opportunity for the Azish to secure beneficial and lasting trade deals. I love it. He knows this is the argument. It's like, oh, this guy's desperate. You could totally screw him over on the trade deals. And so finally, after they've considered this, they're like, okay, so this is really impressive. And also we're amazed that you can learn our language and stuff. But we think that we should go ahead and before she can finish, he pulls out the second sheaf of papers. 6 pages, these ones written by Navani, talking about the wonders they've discovered at Urithiru and inviting the Azish scholars to visit and share in this knowledge. Talks about new fabrials and all that stuff. And even offers a gift. Schematics of the half-shard fabrial shields that they got from Taravangian. Because remember, that was a Yaakoved discovery. And Taravangian now rules Yaakoved, so he's sharing.
Yeah, no ulterior motives, that Taravangian.
No, what a nice guy.
He just wants to heal the world.
Huh. And then, before they can even get over this second argument, he's like, now we go in for the kill. And he pulls out the last sheet of paper and holds it with just 2 fingers. And everyone, the Azish are watching with wide eyes as he reveals this last piece of paper. It is called...
This feels very Yu-Gi-Oh!
With the 2 fingers, yeah.
You've activated my trap card.
It's time to duel with logic.
That's a shirt.
And this is... Yasna has written something called Verdict. And it's amazing. It incorporates all 7 of Aku's logical forms. It's written entirely in a single rhythmic meter. Great Yazir, you're right. The illusions, the wordplay. This is a work of art.
It's like, we've done a great job impressing these nerds.
Yeah, they love it. And although when he asks, he's like, so that it's persuasive? And Nura, I don't know how you would say her name, the head vizier seems more impressed by the fact that Dalinar actually came alone. She's like, aren't you worried for your safety? And Dalinar's like, your radiant seems wise for one so young, so I'm sure I can depend on her for my safety. And one of the guys is like, I wouldn't depend on her for anything except swiping your pocket change. That's not nice. She only steals food, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
And so instead of sending him back directly, they offer to kind of take him around a little bit while they show all this stuff to the boss, to the Emperor. And he's kind of impressed. The city is pretty cool looking. The big bronze dome. Awesome. Nice. It has taken some damage from the Everstorm, but not nearly as much as Thaylen City rather did. And then he sees something that starts to remind him of the rift. And I think that's like the impetus that by the end of the chapter, he starts really remembering things. We find out that the Parshmen who were here, they've withdrawn from this area through Emul, which I believe is to the south of here if you look at the map. So they've gone away. And Dalinar's like, oh crap, most of that country is on fire now, Nura says, because of the Parshmen and Tezim's armies. And he's like, wait, Tezim, that's Ishar, the Herald. Like, he's not going to side with the enemy, right? I mean, he is crazy, but is he that crazy? And there's protesting going on. People are being forced to like do work that they don't want to do, and so they've lodged a formal complaint. And he's like, "Wait, they can just disobey?" And he's like, "Yeah, I suppose you'd just march everyone out at sword point. That's not how we do things here." And he wants to speak to the Emperor directly, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't do that. Sorry." And eventually, they take him back towards the big bronze dome thingy. They put him in a little room, and he's like, "And just leave him there." He's like, "Okay, all right." Sits down, puts his lunch down, and starts to make communication through the span reed. And he talks to the Stormfather a little bit, but where things really get interesting is he turns to eat his lunch, and there's Lift eating his lunch.
Man, she's such a bully.
Like it says she wore an oversized Azish robe and cap, and was gnawing on the sausage Navani had packed in his meal. And you're supposed to cut the sausage up in the curry. Come on, dude. And she says it's kind of bland. And he says, yeah, I prefer soldiers' rations. She goes, because you're bland? And during his conversation with the Stormfather, like they've been talking about a society where like scribes are in charge, basically. And she asks him about this, and he's like, yeah, I was thinking about I'm kind of uncomfortable with the idea of scribes controlling the fates of nations. The things women write are stronger than my military. And she's like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Lots of boys is afraid of girls. I know Lift can, get old with people, but I love her.
Yeah, reading this bit with her in it, the thing that occurred to me is like, holy shit, this is Muffin from Bluey.
I don't think so. I don't feel like she's muffiny exactly, but
No, I don't know. Like, I think at her core, Muffin is a good kid, but she's definitely got some outer aspects that can be very, very grating. And like as we had this quiet moment between Dalinar and Lift, I just thought this feels kind of like when Muffin's at her not most insufferable. Holy shit, this is Muffin with a shard blade.
See, I agree that Muffin at heart is a good kid. She's kind of spoiled, but that's on her parents and not her.
Yeah,
Agreed.
That's really what these books are missing. A muffin blade. That'd be pretty sweet.
Muffin button?
Muffin blade button. Or a blade that cuts people and turns them into muffins. That's like some Majin Buu shit.
Is there a culinary shard who grants those kind of powers?
There should be, right?
Yeah, we really need the Dread Pirate Chef to be here to make us some muffins.
My friend who is DMing my D&D campaign, sometimes he would be the local DM for his part of the city. They would put the call out. It's seeking people to DM games just down at the pub for casual things to join in. So he went and did a few, and there was one campaign he was running. He did several sessions of it, and there was a guy at the table who was just being a total asshole to some of the other party, and DM gave him some warnings, all right, well, if you split from the party and go off and do this thing despite the rest of the party telling you not to, there will be consequences. And the guy's like, oh, whatever, and he went off and did the thing. So the it all happened in story somehow. I forget the exact way it happened, but Chris wound up saying, all right, the desert god Jammo has cursed you, and you are now a biscuit. You still have all your stats. You're still mobile. You can still fight. You just kind of float around in the air, but you're now a biscuit. And they had to and so that became a running thing in the campaign. It's they have to break the curse and turn him back into not a biscuit. And the rest of the party was like, yeah, we'll get to that.
Maybe, yeah, when we feel like it.
Apparently, this sufficiently humbled that player, which was lovely.
Nice.
Sounds like a really winning storyline. I mean, I would love to be a biscuit. Biscuits are good. A floating cookie? Why not?
Depends on what sort of biscuit, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's all different sorts. Dalinar and Lift have an interesting conversation that touches on several things, including an old dried out finger from a dead emperor. She's like, Emperor Snot-a-lot or something. And he's like, Snoxel? Yeah, that guy. And so she thinks because of this, it's, and he's like, yeah, there's these superstitions about him. He's the one who was in charge when my ancestor came through and sacked the city. So I'm sure they were using these relics during their discussions about the last time the Alethi were here. He's like, could you talk to them maybe and tell them like this is a good idea? And they're like, yeah, no, they don't like me. And he asks her what her order is, and she goes, more food. It's like, no, I mean of Night Radiant. Oh, I'm an edge dancer. I slip around and stuff. He's like, slip around. Yeah, it's real fun. Except when I run into things, then it's only kind of fun. And then she says that Dalinar smells like her, the Night Watcher. Or what she says is the crazy spren who lives in the forest. And they have like a weird little moment where they realize they both have met the Night Watcher.
That is a shard. That is no mere spren.
I mean, they don't know.
Yeah, I know.
And eventually, while they're sitting there, Nora comes back. And I love the moment where he sees her look at Lift and smile. And he's like, you know what? I think that they do like this kid, despite what she says. It's kind of cute.
Well, it's like what Wit says about Elhokar later on. It's like, oh yeah, he grows on you like a fungus. It's probably the same thing about Lift and these guys.
I can see that. Yeah. The Emperor has decided to accept your invitation to visit Urithiru. Also, the Prime of Amul is almost here, and he brought the Sage with him, and they're going to come too. And the Prince of Tashik has an ambassador in the city. He's going to come. Alman Desh and Leofor, they all want to come too. I doubt you want Tukar's Priest King, and Murad is overrun, but yeah, we're going to bring you most of the Empire, basically, to come and talk to you. And Dalinar was not expecting it to go this entirely in his favor. And he says, thank you. And she's like, well, you're right. Your wife writes a good essay. And they say Yasna's writing is every bit as impressive as her reputation suggests, but Navani's plea seemed more authentic. So that seems to have been the deciding factor. And she's like, okay, I'll take you back. We'll be in contact about when we're going to come to the city. And I love that he's like, now as they're leaving, he's like, oh, I should probably tell you, the Oathgate, like, it'll transport more than just like that middle part that you've cordoned off. It would transfer like this whole big area. And they're like, oh, what if we like built something like halfway through it? Would it get cut in two? Would it cut a person in half? And he's like, I don't know. Actually, we haven't thought of that.
we haven't tested that yet. We haven't found a willing subject.
Yeah, nobody wants to get splinged.
I sort of suggest you start with an inanimate object before you start putting people in the way.
Yeah, probably good.
Just an idea.
Fuck it. Human trials to start with. Let's go.
Straight there. And we end the conversation with her being like, you're not what I expected. And he's like, what did you expect? And she goes, an animal, a half-man creature of war and blood. And he's like, you know what? I've been that guy. I was that guy. But,
Yeah.
you know, not anymore, basically.
I also have feelings.
Yeah. And then he starts remembering stuff. He thinks an animal reacts when it's prodded. You whip it and it becomes savage. And then he like stumbles because all of these memories have suddenly come flooding back. He remembered what had happened to Evie. It had started in a cold fortress in Highlands once claimed by Yakaved. It had ended at the Rift. Which is really a great end to a chapter going right into the flashback. Like it's a perfect transition. So yes, we get 11 years ago. Adolin is now 12. And they have this, somebody mentioned, like it's a cute little moment together where they're looking outside at this stuff and Dalinar is explaining like why they've got this trap set up basically so that if a shard bearer climbs up here, they can pull this lever and make him fall down. And he's kind of teaching Adolin about the strategy of this. And it is in fact like a fortress that they've taken in Yakaved. He's like, man, this is a really cool place. Who knew that this was hiding up here? But the battle with Yakaved is winding down. Just like last time, we found him after he'd finished things in Herdaz and had moved to Yakaved. Now Yakaved is calming down too. He has successfully beaten them down. And he's like, okay, Adolin, let's have a test now. Where are we? It's like, this is our new keep that you won for the crown. He's like, okay, but it's not just about the land we've won, right? And Adolin's like, yeah, trade treaties. That's that point of the big ceremony we had to do. Yeah, but that's not the most important. And he's like, horses? No, the most important thing is we've won legitimacy. The Vedin king has had to recognize Gavilar as the king of Alethkar. And then eventually he's like, okay, run along. Go to your geography lesson. I got more stuff to do. And Evie shows up, and Evie... Apparently it's very cold here, as far as she's concerned. You Alethi cannot understand cold, your bones are frozen. So I guess it must be much warmer where she's from. She says the king is sending a message. She is not scribing for him. It says that she'd never be a great scribe. She didn't have that training in her youth. And she didn't like books. Well, okay, yeah, that might do it. Dalinar is not at all surprised when Elhokar, his letter, or not Elhokar, sorry, Gavilar. Gavilar's letter is very, like, is praising a lot. Like, hey, you did a great job in Yakaved. You've become an incredible general. And Dalinar's like, yeah, but the rift needs to be dealt with. And Evie's like, keeps reading, yep, unfortunately, I got to send you to the rift. I really should listen to you all those years ago when you said that you should go to the rift. You were right. Go there, and Sadeas will join you with reinforcements. We are certain now that one of the other high princes, we don't know who, is supporting Tanalan and his rebellion. He may have access to shards. And Evie is unhappy about this. Dalinar knew it was coming. It's known for weeks, apparently. But Evie is like, I thought we'd finally get a chance to get away from the killing, to like relax, and we'll go back to Kholinar and just be with our family for a while. And he's like, yeah, I don't think we're ever going to be able to settle back in Kholinar. And she just starts crying. Like, we've been out here for 7 years, living in wagons. 7 years of murder and chaos and men crying to their wounds. And he's like, well, I mean, you married. And she's like, yes, I married a soldier. It's my fault for not being strong enough to deal with the consequences. You've made that very clear. And he's like, I thought you were starting to fit in. I thought you were starting to like it. You're fitting in with the other women. And she's like, the other women? No, they make me feel dumb. Everything is a contest to you people. Even a conversation is a contest to them. Always trying to, like, one-up everybody else. Maybe.
Damn, she's not wrong there.
Right. This is something we know about the Alethi, for sure. She says that she's thinking of going to the Night Watcher and asking for the blessing of intelligence. The old magic can change a person. And he's like, hey, don't talk about that. That's blasphemous. And he's trying to meet her in the middle a little bit with, like, look, after we've done this thing at the Rift, maybe I can get Gavilar to not give me another assignment. We'll travel, go west to your homeland. And she's like, what, so you can kill my people? They'd attack you. My brother and I are exiles. Dalinar has not seen Toe in a decade, ever since the man had gone to Herdaz. Apparently he likes it quite well there. It's funny to me that her brother settled in Herdaz with some Alethi bodyguards.
Of all places.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, fine. We'll go somewhere else. We'll go to someplace warm. Just you and me. We can even bring Adolin. And Evie's like, and Renarin? You have 2 sons, Dalinar.
Not the right thing to say at that time. Seriously. I doubt Evie has let up on you in the last 7 years about spending time with Renarin. Shame on you, Dalinar.
Yeah. And she's like, do you even care about his condition? Or is he nothing to you now because he can't be a soldier? And to his credit, he feels bad after, like, it says he feels like he's taken a mace to the head. And so he basically says, okay, you're right. You win, Evie. We'll go back to Kholinar after the Rift. I promise you at least a year there.
It's like, also, he's done it again. It's like she said, even conversations feel like a contest. And he's like, yeah, you win. It's like, okay, well, it's not a battle.
Shit, I didn't even pick up on that until you mentioned it.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. He says, you've won this fight. And she goes, I don't feel like I've won. And he goes, welcome to war, Evie. There are no unequivocal wins. Just victories that leave fewer of your friends dead than others. He slams the door and leaves, and hears her crying behind him. And then shame sprints start to fall, and he actually has the dignity to feel bad about what just happened. And that's where he's like, I don't deserve her, do I?
Nope.
Well, so be it. The argument was her fault, as were the repercussions.
Ugh. Boo this man. Boo!
Yeah. Way to not learn anything from... Like, he has that moment where he feels bad, and it's like, man, I don't deserve her. And he's like, bah, but screw her anyway.
It's like, man, like, I really should do better. Oh, well, thoughts for later.
Never mind, then. After that, we get a sketch of those pain spren and embarrassment spren, comparing the normal ones to the freaky ones that we've seen in Kholinar. And we also get a sketch of one of those flying fused with the enormously long, like, clothing for some reason.
Mistborn got it.
I mean, even the mist cloaks didn't go, like, 10 feet below your feet.
Well, because they weren't as cool as the fused.
Why does the hunger spren look like a golden snitch?
I know it does, right?
I was also thinking that
Weird.
because they're hungry for victory.
The chapter Mishim, our epigraph is this generation has had only one bondsmith, and some blame the divisions among us upon this fact. The true problem is far deeper. I believe that Honor himself is changing. See, this is some information, some interesting stuff. Okay, we're back with Shallan. This is the day after she was brutally murdered, but she's fine now.
I love that opening line of the chapter. I think that was. I had a good chuckle when I first read it. This is, absolutely true. Well done.
Yes, nice. I agree. And they're hanging out at the tailor's place. Although we find out later in the chapter, like, this woman is only a tailor for men. Like, Shallan cannot get clothes here, which is unfortunate for her. And Elhokar has come up with a plan. He says, thanks to the Lightweaver's reconnaissance, it's evident that my wife is being held captive by her own guards. And Callan's like, that's a bit of a leap. It sounds like maybe the queen is also being affected by whatever is affecting them.
Old Elhokar, when Kaladin's saying that, would be like, off with his head.
I mean, yeah. But Elhokar still, he kind of ignores. He's like, well, either way, we have to rescue her. We got to get in there and get her and my son out.
I mean, he has a point. It's like, ultimately, whether she's in control or the guards are, we need to get in there and get her out.
Right.
So
that's
like, he's just
that's definitely still true.
Yeah. It's like, all right, you know what? Let's cut the bullshit. Sire, it was your bullshit, not the point.
I feel like there is an important distinction there, though, because it's one thing to get her out if she wants to leave. It's another thing to try to get her out if she does not want to leave. Like, these are very different situations.
That is true, but the overall objective remains the same.
True, that's a fair point. But
I can't help it. I'm becoming an Elhokar apologist. He really has grown on me like a fungus.
Oh, there's an email we should read when we get to that point about this. But anyway.
Oh boy, can't wait.
The Oathgate is the priority, though, because that's how we're going to get troops here. So, Shallan, you're going to go investigate the Cult of Moments, find out like what's going on up on the Oathgate platform, because apparently that's their territory somehow. Yokska says that each night the cult has a big fire up on the platform, and the guards guard it. It's like, maybe you can get in on the ritual and stuff. Meanwhile, Adolin and Elhokar are going to pretend to be important Light Eyes from the Shattered Plains and start contacting the other important Light Eyes in town. And Kaladin, you're going to go check out what's up with the wall guard. Good plan. Let's do it. But Adolin's like, yeah, okay, so it's a good plan. There's something we need to talk about. Have you listened to the charges that the Ardent made, the one who got executed against the queen? And Elhokar's like, yeah. And Adolin kind of outlines some of the same stuff. It's like wasting food while people starve, throwing lavish parties while increasing taxes. All this started way before the Everstorm. And he's like, we can ask her once she's safe. I know Yasna said I shouldn't have married her, that Aesudan was too hungry for power, but Yasna didn't understand. And so Shallan goes out to find out about the Cult of Moments, but also she needs a new coat. And she walks around the street, just kind of, investigating, learning more about the city. And she finds a little boy who, like, one of his arms is, like, doesn't work quite right. One of his hands, like, is messed up. And so she pulls out some food to give him, and she's going to get some information here. Like, why don't you get in line for the food? And he's like, nah, they got rules. Got to be a certain age, and if you're too poor, they shove you out of line. And a lot of the people in line are servants from the wealthy homes. They take that food back to the wealthy people.
Because you know who needs emergency rations? Wealthy people.
Yep. But where are they getting this food that they're handing out? That's still the big curiosity. She sees some anger spren that normally look like pools of blood. Some of them do, but some of them look like bar pools, which that's unpleasant also. And then she hears a sound. What is that? That voice. I know that voice. And this is where we find our old buddy Hoyd, the King's Wit, who Shallan recognizes almost immediately. He's like the Traveler, the King's Wit. He's here. And he's standing in the middle of like the street, basically, or a square, whatever. And he's telling a story. For some reason, he's dressed in a like Sadius uniform, but okay, whatever. And he's telling a story about Mishim, the cleverest of Roshar's 3 moons. And I personally find it to be kind of an interesting story. Mishim tricks the great Queen Tsa of Nutanatan, who was a an amazing architect and built all these wondrous things in her city. And basically, the moon wants to get out of the sky, figure out what it's like to be a human. And so she tricks the queen into trading places with her. And while Wit tells the story, he's got a brazier and he's dropping like powder into it that makes smoke, different colors. I feel like every time he's got a new approach that he's using to these storytelling things. And she starts seeing stuff in the smoke and she's like, that can't be natural. Is he light weaving like me? Like, does he have this power? And at one point in the middle of the story, Wit turns to the side where he'd put his pack down and it says he started as if surprised and like cocks his head and starts, like, as he's telling the story, searching the audience. And at some point, he spots her, and it seems like he knows exactly what he's looking at. But the story is that, like, the moon trades places with this queen, and, like, try to trick my brothers into believing you're me, and the queen doesn't come back, like, that night. And so, after spending a day worrying about what's happened, they finally trade places again, and the queen's like, oh, no, your brothers figured out who I was, and they were actually super nice, or your brother and sister, I forget what. But yeah, they liked me a lot. We sang, we had fun, we did all this great stuff, and Misham's like, what? They never do that cool stuff with me. What? I think because it's pretty obvious Misham is kind of a jerk. But to now turn backwards a little bit, you may recall, let me see here. Earlier in this book, Kaladin comes back to the tower after he's been gone for a while. And the first time we kind of get back to him is a Sigil perspective. And Sigil is listing off all the issues they have that Kaladin needs to deal with. And Kaladin, and he's trying to explain, like, to Kaladin how he feels like the group needs, like, this moral center, basically. And he thinks, what would my master do? And he goes, okay, I know. Now everybody knows that Misham, the third moon, is the most clever and wily of moons. And Kaladin's like, uh-huh. And why is this relevant? And he's like, because it's a story, shush. And he says, the third moon is the cleverest, and she doesn't want to be in the sky. She wants to escape. So one night she tricked the queen of the Natan people. It was a long time ago, so they were still around. I mean, they're still around now, but they were more around then. And so the moon tricked her, and they traded places until they stopped trading places. And now the Natan people have blue skin. Does that make sense? And Kyle's like, I have no idea what you just said.
Shallan's going to come back after this meeting with Wit and said, oh, I ran into Wit. And everyone's like, oh my god, he's here. What did he do? And she relates this story, and Kaladin's like, the fuck am I hearing this about again?
I feel like this the same story told by two different people shows the disparity between Hoyd and Sigil. Because Hoyd like takes this big, like, momentous, like, grand occasion basically of storytelling and explains exactly what happened, and Sigil's just like, this is why you're the apprentice, Sigil, because you're just like, look, everybody knows the moon was really, really wily. She wanted to be a human. Now they all have blue skin. And you're like, wait, what? That's not a story, bro. I don't know what the heck you just said.
I love that we got that version of the story, and then now we get the full story from Hoyd, and you're right, it really shows. It's like, I don't know that you should have graduated this guy, Hoyd.
He's like, I love Sigil, but holy shit, yeah, did he botch that one.
But it turns out while the queen was up in the sky, she slept with, like, the oldest brother moon and had a baby, and later, so that's why they have blue skin. But by the end of Hoyd,
also, is their moon blue? I don't get the blue skin.
One
part.
of the moons is blue, I believe. Yes. Hold on. I think it discusses it some in this chapter that they're the different colors, but because they got the three moons, and I think they're each a different color. Yeah. Salas is purple, it looks like. Noman is blue, and Misham is like a green.
What color was the queen when she, became the moon?
This is an excellent question. I don't know.
It's like,
I mean,
one night.
they were trying to pass her off as Misham, so
You would think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
true.
why they need. That's why they need three moons, because they're all different colors. It's like, I can't really see that well.
It's like, does Misham seem brighter than anyone else tonight? Normally she's like kind of a forest green, but now she's just this weird fluoro.
But there's the picture the wiki has of the three moons.
Whoa, Salas looks like fucking Coruscant.
I was about to say, it looks inhabited or something, yeah. I'm not sure where that picture is from. I don't remember ever having seen it before, so it could be like fan art, but
It's actually just a picture of Coruscant.
yes, that is fan art, apparently. But I think it's a cool little picture.
Instagram for this week.
I like this article also has a Q&A with Brandon where somebody goes, what's up with Roshar's moons? Do they all have the same orbital period? What is that orbital period? And he says, yes, they all have the same orbital period. Peter figured it out, the configurations. They orbit twice per day. So, random information about that.
I don't know what to do with that information.
No, yeah, I don't know how it's helpful. But but by the end of Wit's story, he's gathered actually quite the crowd to, impress them with his smoke storytelling approach here. And here at the end, he does like a swirly thing where he's like swirling the green smoke with one of his hands and swirling this other smoke with it actually sounds pretty cool to me. I'd like to see that. And his ending here is like, this is why the people of Natanatan have blue skin. Most importantly, it is the story of how the moon came to know the one thing that before only mortals had known, loss. And it says he didn't bow for applause, he didn't ask for tips, he just kind of sat down. And people waited, and then some people started yelling for more, and he just sat there silently, ignoring them, and they left. And when it's only Shalon left, she's like, why that story? Why now? And he's like, I don't know. I don't give meanings to the stories. I just tell them. And she says it was beautiful. And he goes, yeah, I miss my flute. And she goes, your what? Never mind. And then, did you guys wonder how he knew? Like, he was surprised, started looking around like something's going on, and then he kind of spotted her. What were you thinking at that point?
He must have sensed, like, stormlight, I guess, but I don't know how one senses stormlight.
Okay.
I think I had misread it because I thought that he saw her. I didn't realize he'd looked down at his pack. So I don't know, when you were just talking about it before, I was like, well, maybe someone dropped something off, like someone else knows she's around and tipped him off.
Okay. What about you, Dak? Any thought?
No, not specifically. I hadn't
Fair.
really thought about it too much.
So, what happens at the end of the chapter kind of gives us an indication of what was going on here. It says, he hopped up and began gathering his things, and when Shalon glances inside his pack, she sees a jar sealed at the top. It was mostly black, but the side pointing toward her was white instead. And he's like, come on, you look like you could use the opportunity to buy me something to eat. So I will go ahead and explain what is happening here, as it's intentionally a little bit vague and is definitely one of those Cosmere things. So you guys may remember all the way back to white sand, that the sand is white. When you use it for magic, the sand turns black, and it has to be kind of energized up again by the sun is what turns it back white on Taldane, because there's investiture coming from the sun that infuses the sand.
It's been a while. I've forgotten that.
So
Superman sand.
yeah, what Hoyt has here is some white sand, but drained of its energy, so that when there's some sort of investiture nearby, the sand starts turning white in that direction, so he can see where it's coming from. It's like a little sensor.
That's really smart.
Yeah, it's a cool little
What
detail.
was the guy's name in White Sand? It's been a hot minute.
Kenton, the
Kenton,
sand
yeah,
master.
that's it. Yeah, it's like, well, I wonder what he'd think of Hoyd using their ancient magic as a compass.
Fair question, actually. Yeah.
I mean, part of me says like maybe he'd be offended, but then he was all about finding new uses for things, so he might actually be impressed.
Oh yeah, he was all about like use what you have in new and interesting ways, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, our last chapter, 68.
That was Autonomy's world.
Yes, that is where autonomy.
Sorry.
You're right.
Sorry, thinking out loud there.
My research into the cognitive reflections of Spren at the tower has been deeply illustrative. Some thought that the sibling, capital S, had withdrawn from men by intent, but I find counter to that theory. Okay, so this is the first time that it's like, okay, that was interesting, and I need more information, please.
Yeah, finally something useful out of these things.
I feel like we've been gradually building towards more interesting and useful bits. And this is actually from drawer 1-1. It says first zircon. So this is like one of the first crystals in the thing.
This is the one who came up with the theory, and they were just hoping everyone else would be just as useful as them.
Maybe.
Boy, were they wrong.
Yeah. And so Wit takes Shalon to a little tavern where apparently he's made a deal with the guy who owns the place. And he said that he would storytell and draw customers in. You, storyteller! You said this place would be full! And he's like, my tyrannical liege, I believe you misunderstood. I said you would be full, and you are. Of what I did not say, as I did not wish to sully my tongue. I love...
And what he just did out the front of the restaurant.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of guys. You could have a lot of people were like, hey, we want more story. You could have been like, I'll be telling stories at this place tonight. And it would have been real easy to draw some patrons in. But that's not his style. And I love that this guy, the innkeeper, is upset, and he's not it seems like he's not taking Hoyd's shit. He's just like, idiot, where are my patrons? But at the same time, he's not kicking the guy out either. He's strangely agreeable in some ways. And Hoyd's like, look, I've brought you somebody. And the innkeeper's like, can she pay? He's like, yeah, she'll probably even leave a tip. He's like, oh, okay then. Take the private room. Not like anyone else is using it. Idiot bard. And I love that he's picked Shalon's pocket at some point because he holds up her purse to show the guy that she has money. And she's like, hey, what the? It's good. And as he ushers her into the room, the line, I've had enough of your oppression, tyrant. Secure your wine well this evening, for the revolution will be swift, vengeful, and intoxicated. And then after he closes the door, he tells Shalon, I really don't know why that guy puts up with me. He absolutely should have thrown me out by now. He tells Shalon, hey, nice illusion. You got the back of the head right. People always flub the back of the head. But you've broken character. You're walking like a prim light eyes, which looks silly in that outfit. And she says, yeah, that persona kind of fled once you recognized me. And when the innkeeper brings them some drinks, he's like, many thanks. I vow to compose another song about you, one without so many references to the things you've mistaken for young maidens. I love how eager he is to bite the hand that feeds him in this case. I know that's kind of your thing, at least on this world, is insulting people, but dude. And Shalon just comes out and asks Hoyd, are you one of them? Are you a herald? And he's like, oh, no. I'm not stupid enough to get mixed up in religion again. The last 7 times I tried were disasters. I believe there's at least one god still worshipping me by accident.
Which, Jesus Christ, the implications are ripe.
I want to know if that's a joke, or if maybe one of the returned on Nalthis, one of their gods, really does respect Hoyd or admire him in that way.
God, I hope so.
And even Shalon's it's always hard to tell which of his exaggerations mean something and which are just distractions. And she asks, what are you? And he goes through a whole long thing. It's some men as they age grow kinder, some grow wiser. It's kind of a lot of what she said, actually, a lot of confusing distraction.
Yeah, it's dude, stop. Just talk.
The substance of this chapter, we really could have boiled it down quite a lot and had a very short chapter of what we were actually being told.
It's true. Yep.
He's just describing this since I grow older and nothing else. I'm just like, shit, you're what Lift wants to be. Holy fuck, would Wit and Lift get along?
Quite possibly, yeah. And she asks, are you as old as the heralds are? And he's like, no. When they were babies, I was way older. Old is a word you use for worn shoes. I am something else entirely. And here's where we do get another little hint about his whole deal, where he's like, when I was young, I made a vow that I'd always be there when I was needed. It turns out I should have been more specific, as there is technically anywhere. To be honest, there has so far been a random location that is of absolutely no use to anyone. And then Shalon at some point, she's like, oh my gosh, why am I even talking to you? But Shalon, if you were talking to someone else, they wouldn't be me. I happen to know there are plenty of people who aren't you, Wit. I even like some of them. He says sincerity is a word people use to justify their chronic dullness, which is a little bit mean. You should never debate an idiot, Shalon, no more than you'd use your best sword to spread butter. He's just got all sorts of little lines that are they go through a whole back and forth in this section of just trying to be witty and funny, and it's like watching a ping pong game. It's a little bit.
Wit's just
considering what we know about Witch, she does a pretty good job of keeping up.
Yeah.
Wit's just man, I should have trained you instead of that Sigzil guy.
Probably. They talk about being stupid, and he compares stupidity to body odor. You don't notice your own. The sum total of stupid people is somewhere around the population of the planet +1. And Shalon goes, +1? He says, yeah, Sadius counts twice. And that's where she goes, he's dead, Wit. And Wit's like, what? Someone murdered him? We don't know who? Someone offed old Sadius and I missed it?
Well, you sure did, buddy.
What would you have done? Helped him? Storms no, I'd have applauded.
I can't wait Like at some point, they're going to find out Adolin did it, and I can't wait for Wit's reaction to that. Wit's going to be like, "Holy shit! I underestimated that boy."
Quite possibly, right? I want them to find out, and like the whole room is just staring open mouth when Adolin admits this, and then Wit starts like a slow clap, and nobody joins in.
In the back, Wit just goes, "Ha! Nice."
Yeah, that would also be good.
And like no one else even knew he was there. They were just like, "What the fuck? Oh my god, he's here!"
He came all the way here for that moment. He knew that he needed to be here for that. Yeah, she says, "Why are you here, Wit, in this city?" And he goes, "I'm not completely sure." And she goes, Could you please just answer the question?" He's like, "No, I did. I was being honest. I can know where I'm supposed to be, but not always what I'm supposed to do. Why are you here?" "Oh, open the oath gate, save the city." He's like, "Oh, okay. Lofty goals. What's the point of goals if not to spur you on to something lofty?" And he's like, yeah. Aim for the sun. That way, if you miss, at least your arrow will fall far away, and the person it kills will likely be someone you don't know. Which, that's a good line. He has to kind of insist that she eat food. And she's like, "What, aren't you going to eat?" He's like, "I'm smart enough not to follow my own advice. Thank you very much." Also, I got to remember that one. Let me use that. He's at one point he says, "I'm so storming clever half the time even I can't follow what I'm talking about." Which I almost believe that, yeah. "Who came to the city with you?" he says. "Kaladin, Adolin, Elokar, some servants." And he's like, "Elokar's here?" "Yeah, he's determined to save the city." And he goes, "Most days Elokar has trouble saving face, let alone cities." She goes, I like him despite his Elokarness." Which, ouch.
I like it. I like Elokar too, but like they're not wrong.
You're like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's why I'm pulling for him. He can do better. Dalinar learned to be a better human, so can Elokar. And like, Dalinar was fucking awful.
And there's another interesting bit where she's like, "Don't you care about how you'll be remembered?" And he goes, "I'll remember myself," which is enough. Elokar worries about the wrong things. His father wore a simple crown because he needed no reminder of his authority. Elokar wears a simple crown because he worries that something more lavish will make people look at it instead of him. Which, that's interesting.
But he's gonna learn, Wit. Like, Adolin surprised you by killing Sadius. Elokar will surprise you by not being shit.
Pleasant surprise on both fronts, for as far as Wit is concerned, I'm sure.
Yep.
I also like, you want to change the world, Shallan, but the world predates you. She has seniority. And then he says, "There's two kinds of men in the world. Those who, when the boulder of time rolls towards them, stand up in front of it and hold out their hands. All their lives they've been told how great they are, and they assume the world will bend to their whims. They get squished. Other men stand to the side when it passes and go, 'See what I did? I made the boulder roll there. Don't make me do it again.' They end up getting everyone else squished." But then she has him admit that there is a third type of person, the one that like follows it, studies it, and then shove it ever so slightly just at the right moment to create a deviation. Those are the ones who change the world, and they terrify me. For men never see as far as they think they do. Let's see, what else? They have a discussion about what they've been talking about, changing the world. What is power? It's actually kind of interesting, and like somebody mentioned, it on like, even though Wit is cutting up the whole time, basically, it's weirdly sincere in some ways too, even though he specifically calls out sincerity as a bad thing. "I'd like to live every day like it's my last, and by that I mean lying in a puddle of my own urine, calling for the nurse to bring me more pudding." Nice.
Okay.
But she does manage to get some useful information about him when she brings up the Cult of Moments. And she asks, like, what is going on up on the Oathgate platform? And he says, they feast and they party. Some of them even know about the Spren, the creature known as the Heart of Revel. And she goes, one of the Unmade, and he nods. So now we know for sure there is an Unmade up there. And she says, Elokar wants me to infiltrate them and get the Oathgate to work. Is that possible? And he says, maybe. I can't make the gate work. The Spren of the Fabrial won't obey me. But you have the proper key, and the cult takes new members eagerly. And she says, okay, how do I do it? And he says, food. Their proximity to the heart drives them to feast and celebrate. And she goes, oh, so they're like drinking in life, like you said to do? And he goes, no, hedonism has never been about enjoyment. It's about the opposite. And eventually she asks him, like, will you come and join us? And this is where he's like, unfortunately, Shallan, you are not why I am here. And then as he starts to go out the back door, he's like, tell the innkeeper I disappeared in a puff of smoke. It'll drive him crazy. And right after he's gone, the innkeeper comes in. He's like, "Oh man, I don't suppose he's going to work tonight." And she goes, "Yeah, I don't know. He said he'd treat me like a king." And Shallan goes, "Well, he's keeping that promise."
That is how he treats King. I've seen him do it.
Yeah, Batman out.
Whitman.
And we end the chapter with her talking to her spren. Like, "Do you know anything about that guy?" And Pattern's like, "No. He feels like one of us." So apparently he feels like a spren to Pattern.
One of us. One of us.
And yeah, and now Shallan has to figure out how to get some food. And that's where we leave off. So, yeah, it's interesting to get so much actual like conversation out of Wit on one hand, but on the other hand, it is a little bit like frustrating and I might even go so far as to say annoying in some ways to have to deal with just like this rapid fire onslaught of witticisms, I guess you would say. But
Waka waka.
moving into predicaments. For the next time, we are reading 4 more chapters, 69 through 72. And those chapters are called 69 is Free Meal, No Strings. 70 is High Martial Azure. 71, A Sign of Humanity. And 72, Rockfall. So, what do you guys think? Predicaments. Where are we going? What's going to happen? If you want to use those titles in some way, feel free. If you don't, you don't have to. So, what do you guys think?
And with the titles of the chapters, look, I think High Martial Azure is probably a Kaladin perspective, seeing as that's the assignment he's been given.
That would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what he will discover there, but yeah, it'll be his perspective. Free meal, no strings. We could continue on with Shallan.
She is supposed to be looking
we know
for
that
food.
she's got to go in.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that could be a continuance of her. Alternatively, it could be more Dalinar and Lift, maybe. I don't know.
That's true.
Come on, I will feed you. You don't have to steal anything. I just come here. Sign of Humanity and Rock. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Okay. Predicaments. Where are we going? What's happening? Few questions we've got to find out now. It's obviously where is the food coming from? So hopefully we'll find that with Shallan. Given you've got the Heart of Revel, you've got what's happening with the Cult of Moments and what they're doing up on the Oath Gate. They have to be controlling the food somehow. Like they're providing grain, but limited grain to people. We know that the Parshmen are just outside, but I don't know that their impact on that is as great as what's happening inside the city. So I do think things are being held up from people within the city. Wouldn't shock me if there was a store, like storage somewhere that's got heaps of stuff, tunnels in and out. Like there'd have to be a way in and out of the city, right? Ellikar's drawn a map. Maybe he's got some extra. I mean, you'd think if he had a way in and out of the city that they could possibly have used it, but
True.
knowing that you don't know who's in charge and all that sort of stuff, maybe it's safer not to. But I think Ellikar might have some information that could help there, so maybe Shallan can look there too. Another big question that I've got is why are some spren changing and not others? Maybe it's a gradual thing, so like some things change first and then other things change like as there's more influence in the city. Either that or maybe they're directly related to the Unmade in some way. I think I need more information to follow that path a little bit more, but that's like a big, I feel like we've talked about it a lot like in the text, but we don't know why. Like Shallan's really into it right now and in the page from her sketchbook, but why? Why is it some and not others? Anyway, I'm intrigued, but I don't really have anything on that one. I can scratch that one off because we actually already talked about that. That's fine. This is like Wit was given something to point him towards Shallan, and my thoughts were going to be someone else was around, but we've discussed the sand, so that's not relevant anymore. Okay, so I think a couple of big ones. Aesudan, her behavior changed before the Everstorm, and so I think that she is she's probably leading the cult of moments at this point. Her behavior, the 10 things that were like the accusations that were made against her, it all sounds very similar to what's happening there. So I think that the Hearted Rebel's been there for a long time. We know that, was it the Midnight Mother? Was that what?
Yeah, the one at Urithiru. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it was there for a really long time, had that presence. This was all before the Everstorm happened. So I think that maybe this has been affecting Aesudan for some time. May even go back to when Yasna was like, "Don't marry her, Elhokar. That's not right." And now that Elhokar was away and she's in a position of power, she can really do something about it. So I don't, having never met her really, except that one flashback on Page, I think that she's, in terms of the humans, she's the instigator of this and leading it, which is definitely going to be a problem. But I don't think it's her directly. I think she's being influenced.
Okay.
And I think that's going to make problems for Elhokar. Elhokar's so determined to rescue her. I think there's going to be problems with that. And I'm not sure that I've made out. I don't know who's making it out of this book alive prediction yet, but I reckon maybe Elhokar will not make it out. I think Elhokar will go and join the other significant people that have gone to visit her. I don't think he would be successful. I would like him to have the opportunity to really, save face and do better. He's really trying to do better, but I think it would be quite sad if he was trying to do better and then was killed in the process. Also, then you've taken out your king, right? So what happens then? You've got Dalinar as High King. That hasn't actually happened yet officially. Maybe Dalinar does actually take the throne until Elhokar's son is of age. Elhokar's son has been raised this way, so maybe he does take up the throne after Elhokar's death and is just as dangerous, but not under the influence of the Unmade. He's just, this is what he knows, which I think would be really quite terrifying going forward.
And just really sad for the kid. Like,
oh, awful, absolutely awful. Yeah, that would be, really, really horrible. I'm not sure how old he is at this point, but presumably old enough to be like learning stuff. He's not a baby anymore. Elhokar's been gone for some time, right? So
yeah, they've been on the Shattered Plains for like 5 or 6 years at this point. So
yeah,
exactly.
So you think about like little Adolin when we first met him. That sort of age is what I've kind of got in my head. But yeah, that would be that would be quite sad. But yeah, I don't know that Elhokar will ever leave Kholinar now. My other thoughts are, there's been a lot of talk about the future. Wit's got his story about the boulder and moving the boulder, and he's like, don't listen to anyone who tells you they know what's happening in the future. Like, even myself, don't listen. And the biggest person spouting that they know what's going to happen is Taravangian.
True.
So I think that's sort of another warning there. Obviously, our characters don't know about that yet. They don't know about the diagram. I don't know how that's going to link up yet, but I think there's going to have to be something there. We know Taravangian's dangerous, but maybe he will start to do something. Or like the last thing we've seen of Taravangian is his interlude. Well, I don't know that he's had that much interaction with our main characters. They do a pretty good job of hiding him away when he's scary genius level for the day, but he's also getting smarter about hiding it. So, maybe they'll start to pick up on things that he says he knows what's happening and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, obviously we know Taravangian's dangerous. Hopefully he slips up somehow and everyone else sort of goes, yeah, you are pretty dangerous. This is not it's not a good thing. But I think that's kind of where we're leaning towards some information there.
Yeah,
that's about it, really.
At this point, it really kind of is like Taravangian seems to have a good approach. Like, it is working what he is doing. He would have to kind of slip up, it seems like, for people to catch on to like that he is not a good guy.
Yeah, he's got everyone under the spell, that's for sure. I guess the other thing now is that Dalinar has got a lot more support very quickly. Well, or not necessarily support, but people willing to hear him out, which he didn't have, 4 chapters ago. So that could be quite dangerous for Taravangian. Anyone who might know anything else about Taravangian and what he's done, there are obviously people in Kharbranth who do know. There are probably people in Yavin who do know, who won't have said anything. But slowly, word's got to get out, right? You get enough people together, someone's going to know something, or go, something doesn't add up. The other thing is that we still have Moash around, who has some knowledge of the diagram. If we catch up with him again, could quite feasibly run into Moash and the Parshman, and that's another conversation that they could have if they were willing to have a conversation. Who knows? The other thing that we haven't really gone into for a while is the Ghost Bloods. I think Shallan mentioned Marae's in these chapters again, and not knowing what happened to her brothers and all that sort of stuff. So they're still out there, presumably knowing something about something as well. So there's we're kind of getting to this point in the book where a lot of people know a little bit about a lot. We just need to get them to actually come and share information. But who exactly will share the information, I don't know.
Because they're all so great about communicating,
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be Taravangian, for sure,
Can I just interject on one of your points there? It's like, I cannot begin to describe how conflicted my feelings would be if Moash was the one who proved to be Taravangian's undoing.
Yeah. That's true. That would be a hard time for you.
I might need to take that week off.
I need some time to come to terms with this.
Yeah.
I refuse to discuss this on the podcast this week. Goodbye.
But I mean, it's a good point. We know that he has some degree of knowledge about the existence of the diagram. How much or how little, we're not 100%. It didn't seem like Graves had told him everything for sure, but we don't know what details he might know or might not know. So it could come through, or it could come out.
Man, I feel like outside of the stuff that maybe I've talked about in the past, I'm not super sure what we're headed to next. I mean, I could say a lot of things, but really, I'm just kind of on the ride right now. I mean, I've talked in the past about things coming to a head in Kholinar. I really am interested to know how the Cult of Moments is going to play into that, but I think things are going to come to a head relatively quickly, I would imagine. And we're going to see Moash, we're going to see Parshendi, we're going to see all of these different peoples converging at this location. Now, as far as the Dalinar section, he's building all these people, he's finally getting them together, right? And this is kind of what he's been wanting to do for quite a while. But what I'm more concerned about is Taravangian's got this plan. And so how is that going to come to fruition and kind of mess things up for everybody? Is it actually going to succeed? If so, how is that going to play out? Because I feel like he's doing a pretty good job covering his bases at this point, where people don't believe that he's some crazy killer now. They're kind of finally realizing, oh, this isn't the guy that we thought he was. So what's going to rear its ugly head and kind of push them to think, oh yeah, this guy's not fit to do what he's doing? In previous books, we kind of had Sadeas in the background as this evil guy that's telling us his evil plan, and then he enacts his evil plan. Now we've got Taravangian who's I told you the evil plan, but all the details are left out. So it's what is going to actually happen? But yeah, I apologize. I don't have a lot for this week because these chapters didn't really push forward the narrative in such a way that kind of would give me information. A lot of it was spent on Hoyd.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah.
A lot of Hoyd. You're not wrong. Yeah, okay. That's fair. I almost said something I shouldn't have there. No, it's
be careful. Don't spoil stuff.
I get where you're coming from. You are not wrong in some of the things that you were saying.
Yeah, I'm also largely on this ride at the moment. Not really sure where things are going beyond what I've already predicted before. So, but the one thing I have two things I have, and it deals with identities of some characters who are being scrutinized at the moment. One's a fairly minor thing. One of the epigraphs today mentioned something called the sibling, capitalized.
True.
and I can't help but feel the placement of that was, deliberate, because that was like on the chapters where they start talking about the unmade in the palace, like the heart of the rebel. So I feel like maybe the sibling and the heart of the rebel are the one and the same. I
Okay.
don't know what that means, and I've got no further information on, but that's just something that just clicked for me. And it's like, all right, they're mentioning this new thing now. I feel like we're going to get names and details of the various unmade as we go, so that's probably, here we go with this one. So we'll see. And the other one is one of the next chapters is High Marshal Azure, and for someone who, like, we've only really heard mentioned in the last few chapters, I'm very curious about this person. I can't help but think I feel like this person will have a decent part to play in some way. I don't think they're on board with the. I say they. Could be a he, could be a she. All the characters seem to be referring to him as him. Maybe that's because of Alethi militaristic things, but it could be a woman, I guess. I'm wondering if this is maybe one of the Ghost Bloods. Are we finally about to meet maybe this Thydakar person whose name has come up a bit? I say Ghost Bloods because we tend to go to Ghost Bloods quite a bit, and it would make sense for them to be sort of opposing. They don't seem to be working with like the other negative forces. They're out to do their own thing for their own ends. They're quite ruthless, but at the same time, they seem to be like they're building towards some goal. I think you said like all the secret societies on Roshar, most of them are trying to save Roshar in their own way, like the Diagram, the whatever the fuck Amaram was a part of, and the Ghost Bloods as well. So I guess Azure could be part of one of those other societies, but I think, yeah, something's telling me if not a Ghost Blood, then Azure is part of one of these other secret societies, and so now there's actually 3 factions in play here. You got the Fused and the Parshendi on the outside of the city. You got the Unmade doing their thing on the inside of the city, and then you have Azure leading one chapter of this other society on the inside as well, fighting back against them all. So
Interesting.
nice three-pronged conflict going there. So
Hmm.
look forward to meeting this Azure. Yeah, would really be interested to see if it's this Thydakar person we keep hearing about. But yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. Or maybe we won't.
I will mention, I don't think I said that about the secret societies all being like trying to save Roshar in their own way.
Oh, is that me misinterpreting? I don't know. Man, we've been reading these books for so long, I can't remember what you actually said and what I've imagined you saying at this point.
Completely fair.
Sounds like Dana just said that's not true.
I don't want to say that that's not true. I just did not specifically say that. So
roll the
that
tape,
either way.
audience. If he said it somewhere, you find it and you email.
Yeah, feel free. But I like this idea that we got a secret person that we've never heard of. We've got these secret societies around. A plus B, there could be something there for sure.
Like fucking. Didn't you say there was like 10 secret? Oh, Brandon said there were 10 secret societies, and we haven't even met them all yet.
I think like 8, if I remember right. But yes, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And I guess we probably haven't met them all. Let's see. Sons of Honor was the one Amaram was part of.
Oh yeah, like Dickhead's Anonymous.
Presumably
Amaram
is because he's still around. But anyway, yeah, Sons of Honor, Ghost Bloods, the Diagram. That's 3 that we know of. Do we know of more than that?
I can't think of any. Those are the 3 that came to mind off the top of my head, but
Mm.
could be wrong.
Those are the 3 that come to my mind off the top of my head too. So there could be more that we've seen. Who knows? There could be like subunits of those. Maybe they have like offshoots or something.
Oh Christ.
Yeah, but some definite possibilities there. It seems like that's true of a lot of people, though. You never know who's going to end up being part of some secret society in these books.
Yeah. Also, it's like even more just kind of a loose thread, considering we haven't even met this Azure yet. So who knows?
Yep.
Like for all we know, they could just genuinely be a member of the city guard who took over when things went to shit and is just trying to save his city.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Could just be a good dude. Maybe he'll join the team, and we'll have a guy named Azure.
Hooray!
Which does anyone else immediately think like he's going to be wearing blue when his name's maybe that's just me.
No, I definitely thought about that.
Cobalt guard, Colin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I was
true.
going to say it wouldn't be a surprise. It seems like most of the guards do wear blue.
He could fit right in. That's a good point. Yep. Okay. Well, okay. Let's we've been going for a good while. Let's read a couple emails and then we can wrap. So we've got a bunch of emails in the box. I'm going to pick out a couple to read, maybe a shorter one and a longer one or something like that. This first one is from... Oh, they say their name. Sorry. From Zach. It is the title is Grind. And the email says, "Hi, future self. This is Zach O'Brien. I am currently in the middle of Bands of Mourning podcast-wise. I am almost done reading Words of Radiance for the first time. I'm hoping even out with where you are up to sometime. I'm hoping to even out with where you are sometime. I try to listen to at least one episode a day, so it shouldn't be too long for me to catch up. Do you see/respond to comments on Spotify?" And I'll pause there to say that it has been an issue the last couple of months, actually, where I will get a thing that says, "You have a new comment on Spotify." And part of the problem is that when I go there, they don't have a way to like look at new. It'll show unread, but that doesn't actually show what I need to necessarily, because I'll try to look at that and be like, here's several that are like several months old that you have seen before. So I sometimes have to dig through several pages to figure out what the newest comment was that I just got an email about, that, hey, there's a new comment. And even when I find it and I try to reply, every time I try to reply, it's like, nope, didn't work. For some reason, it will not let me reply to comments. So I do try to read it when I get notified there's a new comment, and I've tried to reply to a couple, hoping that they have fixed it each time I try, and it has not been working for me. So I want to. It does not always work, even just trying to read whatever the newest one is. Continuing, he says, "I left a few, mostly just Hoyd." Yeah, I think I've seen some that were Hoyd, because he's Hoyd, so like, yeah. "In other news, it's very fun listening to your podcast. I would say that listening is like rereading the books, but I wouldn't say that for Bands of Mourning because I just read it this year. But yeah, it's a nice review. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and just say this. Spook is a creep, but is one of my favorite characters because of his dialect. Wuzzing wanting of more. Wuzzing to the time of next, Colo, Goncho. I don't know what the sign-off is, but you now know Goncho, so if that's not it, I will be disappointed." Yeah, no, sorry, Goncho is not the sign-off.
I'm Sil.
I like that one.
Sorry, Ganjo.
Yep. All right, that was a fun one. Okay, here's another good one. This one's from Peter. It says, "Where's Axes? Good day, Sanderlanche. On the latest episode, there was once again the collective cry for more Axes the Collector stories, which is understandable. I have a 3-year-old who has recently discovered Where's Wally books. I'm not sure how international these are. I'm from the UK, but they've been around for years, and the basic premise is you have to find Wally and his friends in a picture with hundreds of characters in it. I've attached an example picture. And do you guys have Where's Wally books?"
We absolutely do.
We have
Do,
them.
and our 4-year-old has also just latched onto them big time.
Aw, that's
In
awesome.
fact, yesterday I was wearing a yellow and black shirt, and she straight up asked me, "It's like, why are you wearing Oddlaw's shirt?" Like, fuck. Whoa.
That's great. We have those also, but in the US they are called Where's Waldo, as opposed to Wally. I'm
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, Oddlaw backwards is Waldo, but like that. But even though it's called Where's Wally down here, they just keep him as Oddlaw. I'm like, I guess Illaw doesn't really have the same villainous ring to it, but even so, it's like you've lost the joke.
True. It looks like the books originated in the UK as Where's Wally, and then later came to the US as Where's Waldo. So I feel like Oddlaw must have been a character created in the US that then made the transition back to the Where's Wally books. That's funny.
I suspect so. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Now I'm digging into. See, Oddlaw, Wally's archenemy, first appears in the Magnificent Poster book. He has a British accent in the television series.
British.
Yeah, it looks like he did originate in the US, so that makes sense. Okay. There we go. We went down a small rabbit hole about Where's Wally books. Okay, where did I leave off here? So, combining Axes with Where's Wally, I propose Where's Axes? A fun book with scenes from Roshar, with hundreds of characters doing funny and silly things, and somewhere among them Axes is hidden. The gist of the game is you need to find him and find the unique spren on the page that he is investigating.
Man, that would be fucking awesome. Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Absolutely. In the top corner, you'd have a paragraph describing the scene and what trouble Axes has gotten himself into. I also have the idea that Axes is partially dressed, and you need to find his clothes somewhere as well.
I love it.
This is all awesome, and I will buy this if you somehow manage to get it made, Peter.
I just like the idea that, like, Axes will always be in some kind of peril in every picture.
Obviously, he would be, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's do one more, just because it's a rather long one, but it goes with some of the discussion that we had today. I mentioned earlier that I will get into this. So this one is
just going to be another Moash was right, Elhokar was wrong.
Well, no, not exactly, but and I'm going to have to summarize because this is a long email. This one is from Chandler, and the title is "Words of Radiance. Have you heard the good news about our Lord and Savior Moash?"
Oh, I just don't read the email.
And so no, it's so he even says at the beginning, like, this is long. If you want to just touch on some high points, that's fun. That's cool. So basically, this person's argument is that Moash is an asshole, but also Elhokar is an asshole. So he starts with Moash starts out really antagonistic towards Kaladin, and honestly, it doesn't make much sense that kind of out of nowhere, Kaladin is like, Moash is my only real friend. Like, he says it's because, like, Moash, doesn't look up to him as much as the other bridgemen, but, like, he made friends with, like, Rock and Teft first, and they don't look up to him in that way, really. So it's weird how, like, Kaladin views Moash. It feels forced, right?
Yeah.
And he says, like, Moash doesn't even really have that big a role in the Way of Kings. Like, he gets a little more page space than, like, Hobber or Earless Jax. But he says, in Way of Kings, I didn't dislike Moash. I barely noticed him.
Yeah. And I think that was, to me, that was kind of part of the writing process, right? I don't know that Brandon had his role picked out for Moash at that point, because I thought the same thing when we got into the second book. I'm like, who is this Moash guy? I didn't even really remember him.
But Chandler goes on to say, then he announces his plans to kill King Elhokar. And in theory, this is where I start to like him. Because fuck Elhokar. It caught me off guard that you guys like him. As a rule, I don't interact with the fandom much, but I just assumed everyone hated him. Like Straff Venture. I saw him as a caricature that Brandon had propped up to be hated, because how could you not? He's a whiny, incompetent man-child with no morals or scruples that we see, and he's happy to profit off the victimization of the Dark Eyes, the slave trade, and Sadeas's inhuman practices in particular. He abandoned his wife and infant son to fight in a war. I mean, he could have just brought them along. Apparently, Alethi do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then he hangs out with his high princes in his second palace, fighting and drinking and watching duels and going on a big game hunt.
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry to interject. I don't know. I feel like the Elhokar not bringing his son and wife thing is like kind of by design, right? Because when Gavilar was king, we see him not going into combat, sending his generals to do this. But this was a different kind of war. It was a war, at least at the beginning, purportedly to avenge his dad. So he's gonna go. He's not gonna stay.
Yeah.
At the palace, and he can't. I don't know what the Alethi command structure is, but it's like you maybe not want to leave like a vizier or advisor or whatever the terminology is running your entire kingdom while you're gone for years and years. But
yeah,
and it sounds like from the description that we get of his wife, she probably relished the idea of being able to stay there and
to be in charge.
Kind of, to be in charge.
But also, don't forget, like, it's easy to forget because she shows up so early in Way of Kings, but for the bulk of the war, Elhokar also left his mum there to keep an eye on maybe not to keep an eye on, but to help his wife rule.
That's true too. Yeah. And then also, as we saw, Dalinar's like, I mean, his wife relationship was obviously very different, but at first he didn't take her with him.
Yeah. Plus, like Elhokar is already paranoid that everyone's out to get him and try and kill him.
True.
Maybe he's thinking if he brings his wife and son along. We've talked before. Elhokar is far from a perfect person. I think, especially throughout the Way of Kings, we all took turns dumping on the guy. But for all his faults, he does seem to love his family and he wants them to be safe. So maybe he thought by leaving them behind in, the safe capital, they would be safer than coming with him to a war zone.
Maybe. That would make sense.
Yeah.
It says, I legitimately spent the first 2 books waiting for him to go full Caligula and start finding, quote, assassins among his inner circle to execute. And let's not forget, he almost executed Kaladin for the crime of, as he admitted, showing him up by rescuing Adolin and Renarin.
Yeah, and I think that's part of Elhokar's character and the subversion of expectations. Like you're saying, you are expecting him to go Caligula and just start murdering the shit out of people. And the story has taken a very different turn, and we're seeing more behind the curtain of Elhokar and finding that's not who he is. So I think that was just an interesting wrinkle.
This next part is a bit interesting. It says, all of those are sufficient reasons to dislike him as a person, but a bad person can be a good character. I love reading about thieves and con men. Wayne is a bright spot in the otherwise, in my opinion, quite lacking Era 2. And John Constantine is perhaps my favorite DC character. I do disagree about Era 2 being quite lacking, especially in the character department, but whatever. Moving forward. Elhokar's greatest crime is being a drag. In few scenes is he the fun or interesting character, and if he's in a scene with Dalinar, he has to be less honorable and competent. With Thaddeus, he's less smart. With Adolin, he's less cool and charming. With Kaladin, he's just less. Elhokar is eminently hateable as an individual and brings less to the character as a table. Less to the table as a character. I can read. And so he goes on to say, basically, everyone's trying to argue whether Moash's reasons for killing Elhokar are moral. And he's like, I don't think it matters. He says, to Brandon, killing Elhokar is wrong, full stop, because he's reached that conclusion as he's writing the scenario. And so he can tilt the scales in whichever way he needs to substantiate that. I don't know if any context we could learn about this one case really matters in the question of, is it right to kill the king of Alethkar? Is Elhokar fully responsible for what happened to Moash's grandparents? There's no way for me to know. I'm sure Moash doesn't really know either, but I consider it immaterial. The Alethi system of government creates and profits off injustice similar to that one daily. We see it with the Bridgemen and the slave trade and dozens of other things. Elhokar is the leader of that system and has made no efforts to improve it. To me, that is sufficient justification for the removal of any high-ranking member of that system. And I don't really care what motivation causes Moash to want to do that. Although I acknowledge that line of thinking is the opposite of Journey Before Destination.
That's an interesting kind of stance. What I would say, and it's not necessarily to argue your stance, I think his stance is valid. But what I would say is, where do we draw the line as readers when we look at the world and the culture that's created in world, right? Do we hold, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because I've held fictional stories with completely different cultures and values up to my personal ethical and moral standards, right? So I've done this in the past. So I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here. But where do we draw that line where we're like, well, this is a fictional story. Their cultures, values, morals, and ethics are different from the ones that I experience in my day-to-day life because I'm in a completely different world, completely different existence than these characters, right? So like, where do we draw that line? So it's I just say that to kind of bring up that point. Like, where do we as readers decide, is this something ethically, morally wrong in my own value system? Yes. Is it necessarily wrong in this culture, this morals, ethical value system that's been created in this fictional world? That's kind of one of those things that like I go back and forth with, right? So it's like I'm reading this and I'm trying to figure out, well, what do these people believe? How do they feel? What do they want to know? Like, or what do they value, and what's morally and ethically correct to them, right? And especially in a rich world like Roshar, you've got all of these different values, morals, ethics, cultures involved. And so it's kind of hard to sit here on high. And I know as readers, that's what we do, right? It's kind of hard for us to sit on our high and say, this person's right completely and this person's wrong completely. I think the majority of it, as in real life, is somewhere in the middle. And so, does Elhokar deserve to the hate that he gets from Moash? I mean, from Moash's perspective, obviously, yes. Does he deserve to die for what he did? That's the part where I feel like I lean more on the side of, no, I don't think he does. I don't think he deserves to die. But that's my perspective on it.
The interjection I would put on all this is like when you're describing what Elhokar is like in every perspective. When he's with Dalinar, he's less capable. When he's with Thaddeus, he's less smart. And with all his characters, he's less and less and less. I'm like, yes, you're right. He is. And the crux of his character is he knows that. And he's trying desperately to do better. You've actually just hit the nail on his character of his character on the head. Yes, like he is less than all these people, and he's trying to get better from it. So, I don't know. I feel like I repeat myself on a lot of this stuff. So I'll just say, look, I feel a lot of empathy for Elhokar. I have been in the situations he is where you feel like you're just surrounded by everyone in your life who is better at the things that you want to do than you are. And no matter how hard you try, no matter what approach you take, you just don't seem to improve. Fucking been there. So that gives Elokar a soft spot for me. Maybe that's blindness on my part, but that's just how I feel. And that's probably how I'm going to continue feeling unless he truly screws the pooch at some point.
That's fair. Jamie, any want to chime in on Elokar?
I agree with a lot of what Jack said. I think, he knows that he's not, I guess, better than anyone else at any of these things. And, I think the thing I like about him is he's trying. He's trying to do better. We don't know much about him in the past. Like, we don't have his perspective all the time. Or actually, I think ever. Have we ever had an Elokar perspective? I don't think so.
Ooh, I don't.
Maybe like little bits here and there, but
I don't think we have. We've only seen it through the other characters' eyes.
exactly. So, until we get that, I think there's not really a lot more that you can do.
It's fair. Can't see inside his head, and so we can't judge. Yeah, all right. I can see that.
Yeah.
Email ends with him saying, back to Moash, basically. Moash was basically the devil on Kaladin's shoulder in Book 2. I might have sided with him, but I didn't like him. He performed a narrative role, and only barely. He never felt like a fleshed-out character. When he turned on Kaladin, shocked Pikachu face, come on, what else was he going to do? Killing this dude was his only motivating force as a character. You might as well be surprised when Golem bites your finger off. So, in the war between Moash is a monster and Moash is a hero for the underclass, one truth stands immortal. He and Elokar are both unlikable snot goblins. And that's...
Did you just pronounce Golem as Golem?
Did I say Golem?
You said
Sorry.
Golem.
It sounded like you said. Honestly, it sounded like you said Golo, and then I thought you said Goro, and I was like, "But Goro's not in Lord of the Rings." I'm really confused.
What if Goro bit your fingers off? Would you be surprised? Probably not.
Goro's got a massive mouth. He'd probably take my whole arm.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I was about to say he'd probably rip it off with one of his forearms and then just eat it.
So yeah, basically Chandler's end point is that they both suck, and he doesn't care if Moash wants to kill Elokar.
I mean, look, that's the way you feel about the characters, and I'm not going to gainsay that. A lot of points you made are perfectly valid, but I can acknowledge you make some good points, but I still disagree just because I like Elokar.
Fair. Different people relate to different aspects of various characters, so you never know.
Sure. Well, I will say, I don't know about what else Moash gonna do. Why we're so shocked that he betrayed Kaladin like he did. I guess it's one of the situations like just because it was the likeliest scenario and we probably could have all seen it coming doesn't make it any less shocking when it happens.
He could have chosen not to be a garbage person.
Yeah. I mean, way back when like Game of Thrones the show was airing and when it was good, there were plenty of episodes where it's like, I know what's going to happen at the end of this episode. Did it make it easier to watch? Fuck no.
Fair. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever liked Elokar, but that doesn't mean that I'm siding or liking Moash either. So I kind of get where he's coming from, but I could definitely, even if I don't like Elokar, I can relate to some of the stuff he's going through, and I can even, admire when he's legitimately trying to be a better person. I think that's something that should be encouraged in all people, fictional or not, is like, it never hurts to make real efforts to do better. Unless I guess what you're trying to do better at is like serial killing or something. But
again, the official Sanderlanche podcast stance is murder is bad.
Yeah, murder bad.
Murder bad, yo.
Yeah. So yeah, Dak definitely likes him more than I ever have, but that doesn't mean that I also don't find it really interesting to watch his character arc and to, like I said, admire some of when he does do good things, or laugh at when he's ridiculous. Like, well, I brought Kaladin because I'm going to screw up, and Kaladin's here to save the day. Obviously, like it's great in some ways.
And it was definitely like a book 2 thing onwards. Like, the first book, we're just like, what the fuck is with this guy? Especially when we learned out he staged his assassination to get Dalinar to investigate it.
Oh
And we're
my
also
gosh,
like,
yeah.
you fucking idiot.
You fucking what? Yeah, no, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I think I just need to resign myself to being the guy with like the most fan enraging takes on characters. The fuck do you mean there's a guy who likes Elhokar more than Wayne?
I guess that's true. That's a good point. Is that you were definitely leading the charge on like Wayne, who is one of the most popular characters in the fandom. You're like, Wayne is really like he has some problems, and you definitely even for me who had read those books several times, you brought out these perspectives where I was like, you know what, Dak is not wrong about how problematic this dude is. So yeah, you might have some. I was gonna say Joe had the hot Spook take from the beginning almost, which a lot of people really like Spook, but you may have him beat on most controversial character takes. Yeah,
Nobody's got me beat, baby.
honestly, while some people may not have agreed with her fully, I don't think there's anyone that we've seen that was like, Jamie doesn't like Ulrian. What's wrong with her? Even if they don't agree, they're like, no, I get it. Okay, those are our emails. We've got a few more, but we'll save those for another time. Thank you guys for sending the emails. I love these conversation-provoking ones. If you want to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Patreon, where I'm still putting up my reactions to Wind and Truth, reading that for the first time. We are approaching the end of that. So in another month or two, we will have wrapped that up in our Patreon, and we will move on to other things, presumably Isles of the Emberdark. Although I've still only recorded a couple episodes on that. I need to find time to do that. But thank you to our emailers. Thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. People on our Discord, chatting it up out there. If you want to join our Discord, there is a link at our website, www.thesanderlanch.com. Thank you to everyone who just shows up every week and listens to us talk about these books. We really appreciate you. Remember, we are doing 4 more chapters for next time. So if you're reading along, chapters 69 through 72 are the chapters to read. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Haha, I'm Sil.
Corona's wide, supernovas die, fractured in the fateful fall of man. Feel the heart raging of a strength unseen. Unity will bring the upper hand.